What is up, everybody? It's your boy, the Sauce Boss. Welcome to another edition of EFED Power Hour. And I've got a big show going on tonight. Let's see, I'm sharing the wrong screen, but let's see. I guess we can just leave it right there. We've got a lot of EFED content tonight, and we're going to be talking about EFED news. Before I can do that, I want to introduce my two guests for tonight. We've got our good friend, the Megan G from Fibros Wrestling. Megan, how you doing? Let the people know that we can hear you.
I'm here. How's everyone tonight?
I think we're good so far. Also, we've got a second guest tonight. We've got the one and only tabor-ramsey of Proud House Wrestling. Toddy, if you're in the house, say something to the people.
Hello. I am so happy to be here with each and every one of you tonight.
Glad to have both of you here. We've got some big news in EFEDing this week. Well, just gossip, really, but I would love to get other takes on this because when it's just me chirping in a microphone, I always say something stupid, so I'm counting on the both of you to keep me on track here and keep me out of trouble. So, what do you say? You want to just jump right into it?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So, let's see here. I guess the best way to do this, screw the graphics. We're just going to go right to the talk. So, the first topic I'm going to talk about tonight is Ravenstock. And for those of you who are uninitiated as to what Ravenstock is, 2023 is the year of the Super Show. And we've seen CCPE versus the World. We've seen the DPI coming up next week. And the next Super Show, well, I guess we've had some other ones too, right? We've had XWF's March Madness tournament was a 32-person tournament that's going on right now. And we've got this Justin York All-In tournament, which is queued up to start in March. Well, there's going to be another one. And that one is Ravenstock, ran by the one and only James Raven. So more information on that is coming out soon. All the information that I have was revealed on the WGWF After Dark show, which aired this morning. So I don't know what that's going to mean, but I assume what it means is that we're getting another DPI, right? This is another chance for you as a handler to call out somebody that you've always wanted to work with and have a match on a big stage. So my question would be to the both of you, if you had to be in Ravenstock, if you can get into Ravenstock, who would you want to work with in that event? Todrick, you look like you're ready to go first. Why don't you go ahead?
There is such a laundry list of handlers that I would love to do a one-on-one program with, but someone that I haven't is Mac Bain. I took him on as Austin back in the Cannabis Cup, but I would like to take him on as Todrick and see what magic we could create there.
That's a pretty good pick. Mac Bain is, if you've been listening to Ring Bell Radio and listening to this show, you know that I gush over Mac Bain all the time. Mac Bain was the recipient of my Valentine this year, and I could not be more of a fan of what he's done. So I don't blame you for picking that one. I'm going to have to scratch that one off my list. I don't want to step on your toes. What about you, Meg? Who's your pick? I know that mostly you do angle feds, but you do step out of your comfort zone and you do these super shows, which I think is awesome because I think that it helps you become a better writer that way. So you appeared at the Cannabis Cup. You're going to be at the DPI this year. So Ravenstock, what are you thinking?
I don't know yet. Sometimes you gotta think about what you want to do for these super shows. I mean, I've sparred with Dave's characters so many times that I don't know who else is out there.
Right. somebody new. So if
Mhm.
you're listening to this video either on the Twitch stream, which is live on Saturday night this week, usually it's on Sunday nights, or you may be catching the replay on YouTube, which every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning we do like a 30-minute show. If you'd like to work with Meg, call her out. I mean, Meg, what would you say is your wheelhouse? What is Todrick? Go ahead, chime in.
Actually, so now that I think about it, Meg and I have never faced off against one another. I would love to take you on.
There we go.
I would absolutely
You
love to
might
do
kick
that.
my ass.
That's okay.
Honestly, Todrick might kick my ass.
What,
But
that's,
I do.
you know, there's no better way to learn how to get better than to go against someone who you feel like is better than you, right?
Right.
Recently, I had matches against Peter Vaughn and Mark Flynn, which they're both world champions. They could beat anybody at any given point, and of course, they both beat me as well. But I learned so much about their craft and the way that they do things that I feel more confident now with whoever I face. I go, well, at least it's not Peter Vaughn, right? At least it's not Mark Flynn. I feel like I can take on the world now. So I would encourage you to challenge yourself. And if you need some help, you know, you feel like you are punching up, ask for help. And I guarantee the community would be willing to help you. I bet Todrick would be willing to help you, give you some ideas, because ultimately I think what people want is a good match that's going to show well. So,
And I owe it to Todrick for what happened a couple of weeks ago. I was going through a situation. He remembers of what was going on, and I was uncertain. You know, Todrick in a way helped me out, and I think I should pay it forward, as I'm known for doing.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think the community looking out for each other and working with each other is the only way. Well, it's not the only way, but I think it's awesome. So I think that's great. I wish that I could say that my pick for Ravenstock was that altruistic. I've got 3 names on this list, and I don't know if I can get them right. I do all this content, and maybe I do have an ego, but I still don't feel worthy to face anybody that I go against. I see in the chat, Lexi wants to know what Ravenstock is. Ravenstock is the next Super Show that's coming up in April, May, I believe. It's going to be James Raven who's putting that together, and if you want the details on it, read WGWF's After Dark show, which aired this morning, and it's got a full deep dive with James Raven and Denise Essex, who is a backstage talent over at WGWF. So more information on that's coming out soon. But I thought I would just go ahead and just start hyping the show. I've been dying to tell people about it, and now that it's the genie's out of the bottle, I couldn't be more excited to just run with it here. So, of course, Lexi Gold and I are working together at the DPI. So that's, I can cross that off the bucket list. But the names that I would like to work with, the first one is Fred Debonair, another Todrick, another fellow CCPE member, a world champion, had a lot of success with IIW in 2022, and is doing well in WGWF. I would love to work with Fred. Fred was also in the World Series of Wrestling, finished in the top 20, and is a really nice dude. Probably my favorite on-air talent on the WGWF Brawl show. Just really good. Has a British accent, so I just assume he's smarter than I am. I would love to work with Fred. It's only a matter of time before I get a chance to, but I'm calling him out here if I can get him. Toddy, I appreciate the bits and the gifted subs there. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for that. If I can't get Fred Debonair, here's my second one. My second choice would be another World Series of Wrestling guy, and somebody who is known to fly off at the handle on Twitter, Dionysus. Dionysus is a hell of a writer. Dio and I worked in Level Up Wrestling together, but we never had a match, and is an amazing writer. He goes through periods where he's supercharged and inspired to write really good work, and then other times not as inspired. So I would hope that I could get him fired up enough. Maybe I say the right thing to get him really into the match, and then I think it would be a real banger. Also, Dio just lost a tag team partner in the XWF, so Blondie is missing in action. Dio's kind of adrift in the wind here, so I'd like to call him out and work with him somehow. If I can't get the two of them, I would call out somebody on Twitter who I think everybody would like to. What's the word I want to use here? I don't know. Somebody that I would love. I mean, I don't want to say I want to hit this person, but work with. I'd like to work with this person. So Devlin is the name. And this is someone who always has an opinion on Twitter. I've never read the work. So let me see if the work can back up the Twitter work, right? So I don't think that would ever happen, but I would certainly like to see if people who are loud on Twitter are also good writers, because if they can write and they can back it up, then I can't really argue with that. But if they're not good writers and they talk a lot, that's different. So I see both of you are shaking your heads. No. But go ahead. I know you both are biting your tongues here. Meg, why don't you go first? You look like you have a lot you want to say. What's that? A cat's got your tongue. Okay, Todrick, you.
Yeah.
I'm just like that gif of Monique. I would like to see it. That I'm just gonna leave it there. I would like to see it.
Right. So your Twitter work doesn't play into the match. If it's strictly 2,000 words, you get after it. I would like to see who can beat him. And I don't think anybody is undeserving of a chance to write against you. So if I do write against somebody and they beat me, then they deserve the credit for that. But if I beat them, then they should give me the credit for it. So I don't think that would ever happen, and I know a lot of people are not willing to work with that handler, but I'll work with anybody. I don't care if we're mortal enemies. I'll still work with them because it's fun to push yourself, and I think it's even more valuable to push yourself against someone who you may not see eye to eye with. So for anybody who I may have had beef with in the past, I'd still like to work with them. I'll forgive anybody for anything as long as they're willing to put in the work. I respect the hustle, and everything else is water under the bridge as far as I'm concerned. But I certainly understand if other people don't feel the same way. So anyway, Fred Debonair, if you've heard everything I had to say, hit me up. Let's book the match so we don't have to go down these other rabbit holes. All right, so why don't we transition over to the next news topic, because I think it's like I just farted in an elevator here.
Ew.
One of the topics I saw pop up on Twitter this week was the conversation about how realistic does EFEDing need to be, right? So does it need to be just like in real life wrestling? Do the injuries need to be realistic? Do you need to consider whether or not you can be booked in two cities on the same night? Should you allow magical type wrestlers be involved? I know one Fed has a cat that wrestles. One Fed had a kangaroo last year. There are countless witches and vampires and other things. So, Meg, you've been running your Fed for a long time. How long have you been running Five Boroughs? Just a year?
4 years.
4 years, right. So, in 4 years, you've probably seen almost every storyline you can think of, or you know, in one form or another, you've seen all the basic tropes of wrestling. What are your thoughts on characters that are a little bit more supernatural or dabble in the occult? Are you cool with that, or are you try to stray away from it?
All right, so I might have a spicy take on this.
Please.
This is going to be a little bit controversial, but honest to God, I hate it. I do not like it. I was in a fed called Underground Championship Wrestling, and you know what? I'm going to say names because they're
Careful.
no longer e-fetting. What?
I
No,
said
they're
careful.
no longer e-fetting. They're no longer e-fetting.
Okay.
So, there was this character by the name of Alexander Buchamp who was a vampire. And
All
my
right.
friend allowed it. And I said, "What the fuck are you doing? You're taking away the aspect of Underground Championship Wrestling for a fucking, character thing. What the fuck did I get myself into?" And then, you had the character. Who remembers the show Prison Break?
I remember it. I never watched it.
Okay, so they had the character named Teabag, Theodore Bagwell. KPN told a story about it. You'll learn about it eventually, how she whooped that motherfucker's ass. Anyway, that's a long story short. They brought him in. I'm like, now we're using actual characters? And then people were just getting on the side like, hey, I'm going to join the bandwagon because this shit is cool. I personally don't like it.
So
I think-
what? What to take away from that is that some people are not feeling it, right? But if you're in a different Fed and there are supernatural characters there, but it's not your Fed, I mean, you just kind of accept it, right? Like, what are you gonna do? I mean, it's somebody else's Fed. They allow it as long as it's not too hokey. I mean, it is what it is, right? Or are you just dead set against working with somebody who has that kind of character?
If I'm going to use this as an example, if KPN won against the Pirate, I will never show. I mean, let me back up here, because I know David is in the chat here. And I think he can vouch for me too. There was a character in UTA called Blackbeard, and he was a pirate. Obviously, I had to work with it. But if I had to work with my characters now, I would say no. But if I'm in a match against somebody like that, you're gonna book me. You're gonna book me regardless, and I'm gonna try my best. But will I work with that person in the future? No. I'm sorry, but that's just me.
Toddy, let's tag you in here.
I'm here to be a wrestler, not a character I can watch on friggin' Supernatural, True Blood, The Walking Dead, or so forth. I'm here to have my characters wrestle.
Gotcha. So, Toddy, you go, and then I'll give my spin on it.
So for me, as long as you can somehow tie this character into being a wrestler, which is like what Meg said. So to me, Gangrel is an example. Was he a real vampire? No. We understood that. But he was also a wrestler. So as long as you can tie your gimmick into wrestling, I'm okay with that. But if you're just like straight up, I am a vampire and that's your only thing, then there are other forums and other boards for you to role play on, in my opinion. So now all of that said, Proud House Wrestling, I say come as you are. So if somebody were to come to the Fed, then I would be faced with now, these are the morals, this is what I founded the Fed on, what do I do? And so, I would have a conversation with that handler and just say, how does this tie into wrestling? That's the only thing I want you to think about. How does it tie into wrestling? So that, to me, is where it goes. You can have whatever supernatural theme that you want, as long as it somehow ties into wrestling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
One thing on the Gangrel theme, he had a banging ass theme, so I'll say that.
That helps, right? So this is something that the Sauce Spouse and I talk about, and it's not wrestling related, but we have to watch a lot of cartoons right? Because Little Sauce, she loves the cartoons. And the difference between an acceptable cartoon and one that is unacceptable is if the theme song is a banger, then it's okay. You know, like I can do a little Fancy Nancy or a little Vampirina. I can handle that, but if it's a trash theme song, like the Puppy Patrol or Puppy something, it's horrible. It just gets under my skin. Anyway, wrestlers are the same way. If you got a banging theme song, you can come out and you don't have to do much because you still get that pop right off the bat when you come in. If you have a great entrance, it can fix a lot of your in-ring mistakes. And that may be something we're losing in modern day wrestling, is that all the theme songs are very similar. You're not getting that first note, like The Undertaker or like Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Big Show or, any of these guys that instantly, boom, it's brand recognition. I love that. And Gangrel had a great entrance as well. That certainly helps set the tone. Malachi Black is another one who he does the Black Mist. And you have to buy into the fact that he's spitting someone's face and now that person's turning evil. I mean, that's a little occult, right? Like you have to suspend your disbelief and say, okay, so that's the story. We've agreed that that's the way this is going, and as long as they stay in character and don't act like it never happened later on, then sure, I'll buy into it. Luchasaurus is a dinosaur. He's a 65 million year old dinosaur, and we're pretending like it's a dinosaur and a jungle boy, and that's okay. It's fun because it's like going to a Marvel movie and going, okay, we know what we're in for here, and we're just going to have fun with it. We're not going to take it too seriously, and it'll be fun. So when you go to a Fed like WrestleVerse, who has a pay-per-view on the moon, or Thunder Pro Wrestling is one that I would throw in that same conversation. Their next pay-per-view, there's a match where the ring is surrounded by Hurricane Force fans, and the championship belt is hung in the middle of the ring. So we're supposed to believe that there's, Hurricane Force wins inside an arena, and it's a ladder match, and sure, okay, but that's what we've signed up for. And Todrick, you could tell us about your experience with Fight NYC. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that went down in Fight NYC, and especially in Blood Money, where they took over all of Disney World or Disneyland. I don't remember which one it was. But they blew up the whole place, right? They burned it all down. Okay, I'm fine with that. It doesn't have to exist anywhere else other than inside that bubble, that theater of the mind where we've all agreed this is what's happening in this role-playing environment. It doesn't have to affect what you're doing in your other feds. It is nice when people interweave what happens here with what's happening there, and your injury from this match playing into what happens in another match. But that's not expected. I mean, as you say, Toddy, come as you are, play who you want to play, tell the story you want to tell. People don't have to follow your work in other feds in order to understand your story in this Fed. That's my opinion. All right, let's switch gears, and this will be our last topic for today. This one's going to be a little spicy, and I don't know who wants to go first here, but I've got a screenshot here, and this is the screenshot of the Bobby Lashley parody account. And before we get into the details of it, let's look at these metrics here. 150,000 views on a tweet. 150,000. 416 quote retweets. I mean, this thing has gone viral. It's gone meta. And for all the wrong reasons, everybody has seen it. Well, you see there's only one retweet. There's 416 quote tweets. I wonder how many of these don't tag Bobby. But I tagged Bobby in our live stream. So maybe Bobby will make an appearance here tonight and join us in the chat. But if not, that's okay too. This account is a DTF account, and that's an entire show in itself. But stacked on top of that, you have this tweet, and you can read the words yourself to form your own opinion. Obviously, it's provocative and possibly insensitive, but it has certainly garnered a lot of attention. So, who wants to touch this one first? Okay, Meg, ladies
I will
first.
be the one. I'm going to ask this question to the handler of that account. With your comment you made a couple weeks ago regarding that blew the whole thing up. I'm sorry, my New York accent's coming out, so I don't give a fuck right now, so I'm going to start cursing.
Is there another tweet on top of this one?
No. He was blabbing and saying, "Oh, I got all this happy stuff. You know, I didn't expect the tweet to blow up and everything like that too."
Right.
Good for you, motherfucker.
So
Good.
January 30th is when this tweet was originally posted. That was more than 2 weeks ago. So we're a little slow getting to it, but it's always good when you have something like this go down that you don't react immediately. Like, you wait to see how it plays out before you form an opinion. So we've done that, and now, Meg, you're still very passionate about it. So I apologize for interrupting.
See, this makes me pissed off that people like this have to brag. It's not a badge of honor. It's stupidity. So the question I have on this is to that handler: how would Bobby Lashley feel about that? You making that comment? He wouldn't like it at all. See, what I don't get about these down the fuck accounts is simple. They brag and they brag. A couple months ago, there was an account with Becky Lynch blabbing about her liking certain things, and she used a very bad word. How do these wrestlers like, Finn Balor, Penelope Ford, Bobby Lashley, etc., will feel about, you guys making these comments, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins? Like, they would look at it and say, well, what the fuck did we get ourselves into? We have a reputation out there. We're performing on TV. You guys want to act like this? It's ridiculous. And that account should be ashamed. And, I should have kept the Twitter, but the Twitter account I used was one of my other non-playable characters. And I said, how would the actual Bobby Lashley feel about you saying that shit?
That's actually another perspective I didn't even consider, but I mean, you're absolutely right. What if somebody made a Megan account, right? A Megan parody account, and it was a DTF account, like, hey, slide into my DMs and do this or that. Like, that would be really weird, right? Like,
that would be heartbreaking. That would be heartbreaking, disgusting, deplorable. I mean, I've had my reputation online, unfortunately, tarnished a couple times that have cost me, have cost some jobs, but thankfully I'm working and everything. But that's besides the point. If someone did that to me and I was a celebrity and someone came out to me and said, "Hey, Megan, are you like this? You said this," I would say, "What the freak?" Yeah. I mean, it's bad enough some of these people on Instagram are creating fake accounts, asking for money, asking for dates and everything, and every time you report them, they come up like that. I'm sorry.
Toddy, what are your thoughts?
So when I saw that, because I was one of the quote tweets, although I took a different approach than everyone else did, because, this year I made a vow to myself that if I am not going to contribute anything positive to this, I'm going to do my best to stay out of it. So my quote tweet was, let's give him exactly what he asked for. He said, if you are, he didn't understand why the gay accounts were following him, or however it was that he said it. And I was like, give him what he wants. Don't follow him. But I left it at that because I did not want to, I wanted to keep true to what I said. But here's my thing. So you get upset about those types of things. With all of my different accounts, I have literally considered shutting down my DMs because of a lot of the messages that unsolicited come into my DMs. However, with that, I did not go on a rant and like go on my, public wall and make a thing out of it. I just don't respond. And then if it goes in a certain direction, then I just stop responding. Like, you don't need to make a response of that magnitude. And his response is something that, whether it's in character or out of character, it is very hurtful to a community at large, because this is something that people fight day in and day out. Like, no one asked you for this. You are a DTF account. You're playing into this fetish thing. So now, if this is the world that you're opening yourself up to, how do you now come back and be like, oh, well, I just want to like exclude it? Then put that in your profile. You were very descriptive in your profile, but you also are a hypocrite, because you say you don't want this, but then there are other accounts that are bisexual accounts that you interact with. So which is it? Which one is it that you want? And I am not going to be one of those people that is like, cancel him, because what he did. I'm like, you either play with him or you don't. Like I've said in the past, there are some things that people absolutely should be canceled for. But okay, if that's what you want to do, then we just don't have to interact with you. And then I'm not tossing any unnecessary fuel on the fire. I'm just saying, give the man what he wants. So that's how I felt about that situation. It was very hurtful to me, in both in and out of character. But the second that I start taking the out of character, bringing it to something he did, I'm assuming was in character, then I've already lost the battle. And I think that that's one of the things I want to change about the game. Let's stop blurring the lines between IC and OOC. And so I took it in an OOC capacity. And then I was like, you're already wrong, because if I want to do OOC, then I need to make an OOC Twitter. And I don't need to do this from one of my characters' Twitters. So that was my thing with it. And I was just like, F it. Give him what he wants. But did I like it? No, absolutely didn't like it. I think what he said was hurtful. I think what he said was ignorant, because that's how a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community die. Comments like that, because everybody doesn't want you. Everybody's not trying to get in your pants. If you're saying role play with me, maybe that's what some people are trying to do, and they're not going on that thing. I have DTF accounts that follow me, and I don't even look them up, to be honest, to see like what they are. If I saw like a Bobby Lashley, okay, that's a wrestler, and then I'll follow it. And then if I start getting things on my wall that I'm just like, oh, then I take a deeper look into that person. But I think what he posted was problematic, but I think I took it in an OOC capacity, so I wasn't going to feed into that with OOC, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that all makes sense, and your perspective is valid, right? And I think it's impossible for other people to understand, what feelings are conjured up when people post stuff like this. In general, I'm not a fan of the OOC posts, especially when it comes to topics that are obviously going to rub people the wrong way. But there's so much to unpack here with this statement, and with the character in general. These DTF accounts are, to me, they're playing a different game than competitive role players. It's a sexual thing, right? So my criticisms about them, and this is what I'm afraid of, people who are in poser feds or are in feds that don't use pick bases may have the same criticisms of us for using pick bases, saying that we're fetishizing celebrities. The same criticisms we have of DTF accounts people may have about us. Even though we don't use the name, we don't use the lore of the character, we're still using their identity, their pictures. So I'm willing to give a longer leash to those DTF accounts based on that. For me, this game is not a sexual thing, and I think it muddies the water and changes the gaming experience when people do bring sex into it. But this kind of post, the biggest problem I have is not the post itself, but it's the response to the post. Because everybody's going to type something wrong eventually. For whatever reason, they're in a mood that day. They may be inebriated. For whatever reason, I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt. But when you double down on that, it makes you look even worse. So in this case, Toddy, I'm just like you. Give them enough rope to hang themselves. Not that I'm advocating self-harm or anything, but what I mean is you let people show who they are. You don't cancel them, they'll get themselves canceled. Everybody will see this is not a person that you can take seriously because of the dumb things that they're saying. Todd, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, so I think what you said is absolutely right. And when it all boiled down, like I said, I will admit fully in front of everybody, I was very upset about the post, right? I'm not going to downplay how I felt when I saw that post. I was very hurt by it. I took it very personally, but I had to take the step back. And the reason I took the step back was, A, I don't play into your community anyway. So, like we said earlier, there's different versions of different communities and different games that people play. So I don't play in your community. I don't like what you said, and I don't even know how it popped up on my timeline because I don't follow him, right? I don't follow him. So I was like, why is this even on my timeline? But yeah, I took it very personally, but I had to separate because, like I said, for me, it was on a personal level. The vow that I made at the beginning of this year was, if I'm not going to contribute to something in a positive way, then I'm just going to be quiet about it. And so ultimately for me, I was like, I'm not in his community. I don't play the game that he plays. So I had to separate that. But yeah, I do want to make it clear to everybody that's listening. Oh, was I offended by it? Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. Because, this is something that I actually go through in life every single day. Comments like that make it hard for people like me who are just trying to live their life on a day-to-day basis. I don't want every guy that I see. I can go in the locker room and take a shower and change clothes and, do whatever. It's comments like that that really make life dangerous for people like me. So yes, I did take that on a personal level. So I want to be clear about that. But I also want to be clear on why I took the stance and responded the way I did. I separated it. So, if people get mad at me about that, I'm sorry, but that's just something that I had to do for myself. I would also be a hypocrite because every day I put on a uniform where I defend people's freedom of speech. So now if I say he can't say this, then what am I doing every day when I go to work? So that's something that is personal to me. And to everyone, it's going to be different how you feel. So we don't all have to agree. But I just wanted to put that out there so that everyone understood.
Sure. Well, hey, Toddy, I want to wrap up this episode here. Do you want to give any parting words before we... we're going to hop into another episode here, which will air on Tuesday, but and I'd love to have you back for that episode as well. But before then, is there anything you want to say to wrap up this episode?
Sure. I just want to say... thank you to everybody who does everything that you can to make this game a wonderful place. It's an escape for all of us. And I really enjoy reading your work. And I hope that you are interacting with handlers that are making you invigorated to keep going further, push yourself further, try new things, do whatever, because I think that we're off to a really good start this year with all of the work product that I've seen, and I would love to continue to read your work. So just thank you to everybody that's out there.
Yep, and I've plugged your homepage here for the Proud House Wrestling Forum. If anybody's looking for a Fed that will accept you as you are, go ahead and head on over. And Toddy is doing a great job there. The first episode came out earlier this week, and I'm very excited for it. I can't take on another Fed at this point, but I'll do everything I can to help with the project. Meg, why don't you chime in here and final thoughts on today's episode or just the world in general?
Heated up before, I apologize, but sometimes when it comes to certain situations, you have to express your mind about certain stuff. Obviously, some people this week regarding EFEDing, got attacked, unfortunately, and obviously we have to be more kind to people. You never know what anyone can go through behind a keyboard. But other than that, I am looking forward to a DPI next week. I got 2 characters on. Though, Saucebox, I will tell you this right now, you made me step out of my comfort zone for that RP.
That's good. No, I think that's how you grow, right? That's how you have personal growth. If you're not if you're not struggling, you're not growing. That's a good way to look at it. Well, I want to thank both of you for stopping by the show. I'm going to say some parting words here, and then we're going to take a little break if you're in the Twitch stream before we get started on the next episode. If you're watching on YouTube, come back again tomorrow morning. My final thoughts on today's episode is, hey, I want everybody to play their own game. Okay? If you're happy in your own bubble and you're around like-minded people, then I'm all for it. You do your thing. When you start crossing those lines and putting your opinions on other people and telling them how to play their game, that's when I have a problem with you. If you have a hot take, maybe it's best left in your DMs and not out in public. If you want to send me DTF DMs, I'm fine with that. I'd be flattered by it. It may not be my thing, but you're not hurting anybody by hitting on somebody, The worst that I could say is, nah, I'm not interested, stay blessed, keep doing what you're doing. As long as you're happy and you aren't hurting anybody, this is all role-playing. It is make-believe, and I'm perfectly fine with there not being a lot of realism in EFEDing. Just play your game. If you want to fight a kangaroo on the moon, go for it. If you want to pretend to be Andre the Giant in a DTF situation with another celebrity, go for it. I'm happy for you. But let everybody else do the same. Don't tell them how to play the game. So, for everybody who's watching the show at home, I want to thank you for stopping by. And if I can find the right screen here. Here we go. There's a little screen. Thanks for coming by the EFED Power Hour. This is Awesome Promotions production in conjunction with the World Series of Wrestling and all my friends across the EFEDverse. I appreciate you coming by. Be excellent to each other, and I will see you all down the road.